Okay, picking up where we left off, we're on page 211 or thereabouts, talking about how there's an asynchronous nature to the web because we don't have these two things combined anymore. Things just stack up in a queue waiting for me to come in. So, people get a lot of confused by this because they'll say, well, I looked in my email and I don't have that. It's like, okay, but is it on the server? So essentially your email exists in two places. Physically on your machine in some sort of a message store done by this user agent, and it could be stored, stuff that you haven't read yet, could be stored on the server. And it could be configured so that when this transfer takes place, these things are left in there. I know an example of a friend of mine who their email wasn't working, and so they called their internet service provider, and the internet service provider, looked at their account and said, "Oh my God, you got 10,000 emails in your email box. That's the reason why it got shut down automatically." And they went, 10,000 emails? How can that be? Well, they had configured it so whenever they delivered from this system to their system, it left a copy behind. And whenever they deleted something here, it did not delete it there. It was badly misconfigured, and so they ran out of space at the server, and so the server shut down. Okay, so how do you control this stuff? Well, that's kind of dependent on what you've got, but an awful lot of clients like Outlook will allow you some control over whether or not I have some. Do I leave things here? Do I not leave things there? When I delete here, does it also delete there? Well, the way I've got it configured, I set this up to delete every 30 days in here. This I keep forever. I have emails from 5 or 6 years ago. But here, I tell it every 30 days. Wipe out anything I haven't seen. And, well, okay, hang on. So, one more time. SMTP is only for delivery of email. It's not for retrieving email. Okay, got that? Like, maybe that's going to be a test question? Okay, just checking. Here's how it works. It creates a connection to the other end and says, here is my email address. And you might stop and think, well, why do you need mine? The sender's. Why do you need the sender's email address? Well, the answer is, if something goes wrong, I need to be able to send you a note back saying, dude, that didn't work. All right, so step one is go to the other end and say, is everything okay? Here's my sender address. And then I send it a list of people I want to send to. So I'm Bob, and I go there and say, my name is Bob. Here's Bob's email address. And then I say, it comes back and says, thank you. And then I say, I want to send it to Jill. Now, it could respond back saying, go right ahead. Or it could come back and say, who? I don't have a Jill. All right, but so it's going to verify that the recipient of this email message actually exists. Okay, that's kind of cool. So the system could stop dead right there saying, dude, I don't know who the hell you're talking about. And that'd be the end of the conversation. The third one would be, okay, if Jill does exist and you didn't mistype the email address, the server's going to say, thank you very much, and now give me your stuff. And so it sends the actual message. So it's 3 parts. Making the connection, telling you who you are, replying back with who you're trying to send to, and then third, the actual contents of the message. Okay. So they talk about the post office protocol on page 214, and it's really talking about how to get new email, because it's just like SMTP is unidirectional going out. POP is unidirectional coming into me. Okay. The way it's really designed, by default, POP is designed so that I get all of these messages gets copied to me, all the new ones. And by default, they're immediately deleted from here. So as I pull this information to me, it gets copied to my machine and then deleted off of the server. That works pretty good, doesn't it? Okay. And it has 3 states when it does its little protocol. And I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of the details of that since that's not really relevant. What you need to know is it has 3 phases, basically an authorization phase. Are you authorized to do this? Some sort of transaction's about to take place, and then some sort of an update where, I've sent you this, and so therefore I don't have it anymore. So let's talk about this scenario I just described. By default, if I had POP set up, and it copies all of the email to me and then deletes it from the server. Got it? Okay. Let's say that I've got a machine at home, and I'm getting ready to go on vacation. And so I fire up my email right before I leave, and I see where, Aunt Jane has sent me a really cool birthday card. Great. So I shut that machine down. I grab my laptop and I throw it in my suitcase, and I go off to Disneyland. Open up my laptop and I connect to the email server, and it says you don't have any email. Why? Because it got deleted when it transferred to my machine at home. So where is my birthday card? It's at home, inside my home computer. So POP work really well if you had only one machine. Now, people who have phones and tablets and PCs and multiple machines, and they're trying to read their email on all 3 or 4 devices, POP ain't going to cut it. Because POP basically says, whoever gets there first gets all of the email, and then that's it. And whoever shows up next, they don't get anything. Okay? So that kind of sucks. Now, I'll admit, you could go into POP and tell it, don't do that. Don't do the delete part. But I'm just saying, by default, POP actually deletes everything after it transfers the stuff to the machine. So we actually kind of sort of needed another protocol. Something that would accommodate the scenario where I want to read the same email from Aunt Jane on all of my machines everywhere I go. I want that. So that's IMAP. Okay. So the next one we talk about on page 216 is that Internet Message Access Protocol IMAP. So what it's designed to do, it's designed to really synchronize between this email box and that email box. It's going to go, what do you got? What have I got? Oh, these things are uniquely numbered. So it has a list of emails that are numbered. And it goes, which ones do you have? And it says, oh, well, I need to send you this one and this one. It goes, boop. So the next computer comes along, my laptop comes on, and maybe I haven't even turned the laptop on for a day or weeks. And it's going to fire up and go, dude, man, you're missing one hell of a lot. Okay, I'm going to send you lots of stuff. Okay, cool. So it's a synchronization kind of a scenario. It's a send me what I don't have. Okay. And it also has an awful lot more civilized features, because IMAP allows you to, create folders and do deletions and searching and all sorts of other civilized things that normally you only did up here at the user agent piece. And you didn't need that in POP. In POP, I really didn't need hardly a delete function at all, because by default it got deleted every single time. But IMAP clearly that had to have a way that you could say, okay, I want you to delete entry number 42, and I want you to create a folder, and I want you to copy this from here, that. So anyway, IMAP is the more sophisticated. If you had a choice, let's say you have a brand new internet service provider, and they said, well, we're going to use most likely they're going to say we're using SMTP for outgoing, but you have a choice between POP and IMAP. Choose IMAP. Okay, because IMAP is a lot more sophisticated. It'll allow you to do those scenarios I just described where you have multiple machines. They can all read the email. Everyone will be able to see Aunt Jane's birthday card on every machine, because it's not being deleted off the other end. Okay, so it basically has 2 features that allow it to do that. It has a flag in there that talks about the current state of an email, because essentially now I need to know more. I need to know, is it read? Is it unread? Right? I need to know if it's a draft. I need to know, all those kind of things. So I have to keep track of what has been read and what's not, because that up to now that's kind of been the responsibility of this user agent, but not now, because I'm trying to synchronize things. So if you said you read it here, it's going to know that I read it. So when I fire up my laptop, it's going to say somebody somewhere has read that email. That's good. And then it has that unique ID I was explaining. This guys are provided unique IDs. Every single message has a unique number so that it can just compare numbers. Give me the list of numbers you've got, and I'll compare it to the list of numbers I've got, and I'll send you what it is I don't have. Okay, cool. Webmail on page 218. Basically, this is kind of cheating. The way they did it is you don't really need a user agent or this. We're going to put all this behind the web, so I don't have to have any smarts on my device at all. If you use webmail, you don't even need to worry about, Aunt Jane's birthday card not being available because it's always there on the web. So the switch to webmail, if you had webmail, all these problems go away, and so you basically just have to do it all. You have to decide how long to keep things. You have to do the deleting, and there's no synchronization because you don't pull the data onto your machine. So if I had a phone with a relatively small amount of memory storage, I probably would want to use like the web version because nothing gets pulled down and saved on my machine at all. Unlike here where I have to store a bunch of this stuff to be able to do the synchronization, with the web there's no synchronization going on because nothing's being transferred. I get to read the emails, I can compose emails, I can do all sorts of stuff, and nothing gets stored locally. Woohoo! Okay. So essentially, they've hidden it all. Me and my web browser, whether it be, a phone or something small, and then some sort of a web server that's kind of doing this SMTP and IMAP pop behind the scenes that I don't really care about. That's none of my business. So nothing gets sent back to the user other than the stuff they're reading. All right, the next one they talk about is the file transfer protocol. And this is one of those things that's been around for quite some time. FTP is one of the oldest. Remember, you had email and FTP and Telnet. This guy's been around a while. And what it's basically designed is how do I pass files from point A to point B. Now, we're not talking about email. We're talking about, Word document or whatever. I want to send a document from point A to point B. So this is kind of an interesting one in that instead of having like HTTP and the port numbers, remember the port numbers from last time? HTTP is 80, SMPT is 25. This is 20 and 21. And then what they did is they broke up into two different port numbers. Did they really need to do that? Probably not. But hey, what they did. So they have what they call a command channel. So they have one channel that's just for doing commands back and forth, and then they have another channel for the actual data. Two different port numbers. Whatever. Okay. I'm sure that made sense to them who did this. Okay. So, unlike HTTP, which is practically unidirectional, practically, FTP is clearly unidirectional. I can send a file just as easy as I can, download a file. I mean, it's designed for just transferring files back and forth in both directions. No big deal. Anyway, so you might think, well, I've never even heard of FTP. Well, it exists in almost every machine. If you just go out here, you can just type FTP and poof, you're at an FTP prompt. Now I can do an open command and connect to some connection someplace. I can do, open whatever, www.kumquat.com, which kind of clearly is not going to work. Oh, wow. I was kind of surprised. Huh. Oh, well. And so you would give it your name and your password. Now, unfortunately, this prompt that I just fired up, I'd be sending my name and password in clear text. So there's clearly some alternatives that are a little bit better. But we'll pick that up again in just a minute.